China's housing market continues to be on the decline, with the number of properties in default and foreclosures increasing in the first half of 2024. In this episode, we look at the wave of defaults across many parts of China. How bad is this trend? Even banks have begun to refuse to take over properties in default. It's not that banks in China have suddenly become kind-hearted. We'll look at the reasons behind it in the second half of the episode. First, let's take a look at the current plight of homeowners in China. A homeowner defaults when they are unable to make payments to the bank on a home loan. When in default, some homeowners have tried to sell their homes to pay off the mortgages. They keep lowering the prices, but no one is interested. Some people have had their homes foreclosed on, lost millions, and even been put on the bad credit list, losing all their assets and savings. Here is a homeowner telling her story on a social media platform about how she defaulted on her mortgage payments.
I defaulted on my mortgage and my home is now seized. In 2019, I spent more than $2 million on a 3-bedroom, 110 square meter home in Dongguan. The down payment cost $600,000. The loan was more than 1.4 million and the monthly payment was more than 8,000 yuan per month. The interest rate on the loan used to be 5.8. In April 2023, I lost my income and couldn't pay the mortgage anymore. At that time, I realized that there was still more than 1.3 million owed. So over the past 3 years, I have repaid more than 300,000 yuan, but over 200,000 of it was in interest. Half a year after I stopped making payments, I was sued by the bank, and the court's judgment came down. Not only was my home seized, but my bank card was frozen, including the WeChat wallet, with penalties, attorney's fees, property insurance, etc. It added up to almost 100,000 yuan. A few days ago, the court notified me that the home was about to be auctioned off at a 30% discount, equivalent to over 1.4 million now. The market isn't good. No one dares to buy. So my home is gone, the down payment is gone, but I still owe the bank tens of thousands of yuan plus the 300,000 already paid. My loss is as high as 80 to 90,000.
In early March this year, Guangzhou offered a total of 22 pieces of land for sale. Only 2 were sold with a revenue of 5.1 billion yuan for the government. In previous years, annual revenue from land sales in Guangzhou was over 100 billion yuan. In Shenzhen, only 1 piece of land has been sold with a revenue of 5.2 billion so far in 2024. Property prices in Qingyuan, Guangzhou fell from 12,000 yuan per square meter to less than 5,000 yuan, like Evergrande's Silver Lake City. The price of second-hand property fell to 2,800 yuan per square meter. A Tianjin online writer posted a video on June 10th saying that homes in Nanjing are hard to sell and it's difficult to find buyers. His friend bought a home a few years ago for 2.18 million. He just sold it for 790,000 this year.
大家好，徐洪森。森哥现在在南京的玄武湖畔。
I am now at the Shanwu Lake in Nanjing. Have a look at the scenery here and the high-rise across the street. A friend just told me that he just sold his home. He paid 2.18 million for it at the end of 2017. It's right next to the high-rise, see? It's the building next to the high-rise. How big is the home? 128 square meters, a 3-bedroom flat, very nice. It has a great location. Over there is the Niushou mountain of Nanjing, which is a superb environment. But he just sold it. Do you know how much it was sold for? Less than 800,000. There was an offer of 780,000 and it was finally sold at 790,000. It was so much loss that he cried. He just told me at the riverside that he would never buy a home again, and renting would be enough for him in his life. He lamented the cruel reality and warned everyone not to step into this real estate trap. It's risky and deceptive. According to statistics, China has sold a total of 225 million suites over the past 20 years. About 117 million units were sold in the 6 years from 2015 to 2021. In other words, about half of the real estate owned by Chinese people was bought during the 6 years when property prices skyrocketed. 75% of the assets of Chinese people are held in their homes. So, if property prices fall by 40%, half of China's population will now have negative equity. The latest data from the China Index Research Institute shows that in 2023, China listed nearly 800,000 units of various types of foreclosed properties, of which Sichuan has the most listings and Guangdong is the second largest. A Chongqing netizen described her experience of buying a home. She said she and her husband's monthly salaries added up to 30,000, so they borrowed 1 million to buy a $2.8 million home. Unfortunately, they both got laid off. The home had to be sold at a significant loss. They ended up owing a lot of money.
My husband and I each made 15,000 per month. Together we made at least 30,000 a month. We weren't happy. Last year, we suddenly wanted to get married and buy a home, so we borrowed 1 million from our parents and relatives to buy a 2.8 million home. The down payment was 1 million, and the renovation cost 300,000. The monthly payment was 12,700, and it would take 20 years to pay it off. I never thought of the economic downturn, and my company just folded, so I was out of work not long after buying the home. We relied on my husband's salary to support the two of us, but also to pay the mortgage. We have to live very frugally and dare not to buy clothes, fruit, snacks, or dine out. We'll seldom order takeouts. Now my husband's company is downsizing extensively. Unfortunately, he became unemployed. Now we have no source of income and we have to sell our home. But given the market, it's impossible to sell. We had to keep lowering the price, and lowering the price again, and finally sold the home for 2.3 million. Now, not only is the home gone, but the down payment and the renovation money are gone too. But we still owe the bank a lot of money. We have spent everything on the home and can't think of anything else other than working to repay the loan. I haven't grasped what happened to me yet. We didn't do anything, but just lost our jobs. Now we have nothing, and we owe a lot of money. So I really advise everyone that life isn't easy nowadays, and you must save a sum of money for a rainy day.
Some analysts believe that the main reason for the increase in foreclosures is that many small and medium-sized enterprises have gone bankrupt and more people have difficulty with their mortgages due to job losses. In addition, real estate companies continue to crash, leaving properties unfinished or rotten-tailed, forcing buyers to give up and suspend their mortgage payments. The wave of mortgage defaults across China is a result of the CCP system, in which the powerful and rich reap huge gains while leaving the people nationwide in debt. As more people default on their mortgages, banks are now refusing to accept defaulted properties. Recently, a man surnamed Zhang in Fujian province had such an experience. He spent $1.75 million in 2021 to buy a suite in Minho University town, with a monthly payment of $6,350, and now, due to the bad business, he has defaulted on his mortgage for 3 months. The bank started out by calling him to check on him politely and reminding him to make his monthly payments. Generally speaking, by the 4th month, if one doesn't pay the mortgage, the bank will start the foreclosing process. That is, the court seizes the property, it enters the foreclosure process, and finally liquidates the debt. But strangely, the bank doesn't want the home now. It notified Zhang that he could pay a quarter of the monthly payment and discuss the payment schedule again in 2 years.
What's
the biggest fear of people in recent years? Default on mortgage payments, right? As long as it's been overdue for more than 3 months, the bank will come take your home away. The court will put a seal on it and then put it up for auction. But the situation seems to have changed recently. If you default on your mortgage payments, let's say for 3 or 5 months, the bank will tell you that it won't sue you, won't repossess your home, and will say, "Don't worry, it's okay if you don't make your payments for the next few months, but tell me when you will start to make your payments." If you were paying, say 10,000 yuan a month on your mortgage, can you now pay 5,000 or 3,000? It's an interesting phenomenon that the bank will negotiate with you on everything now. As we all know, banks are ruthless. When you have no money, they will immediately take your home and put you on the credit blacklist. Now it's not like that, because if it takes the home, it won't be able to sell it. If it puts you on the credit blacklist, you won't repay the mortgage. So the bank has gotten smarter and not as stupid. If it drives you to a dead end, it's toasted too. Banks have begun to refuse to accept homes that are in default. They have even taken the initiative to lower people's monthly payments. So, why have they become so lenient? First, banks can use this method to solve the problem of non-performing debts. If banks handle the situation like they did in the past, they may not be able to recover the loan and suffer a loss, resulting in a lose-lose situation. When people default on their mortgage payments, they are often desperate. If the bank adds the borrowers to the credit blacklist, the borrowers will simply crash and burn, and they don't care about anything else. If the home is taken away, so be it, and don't try to take another penny from me. Homeowners would think this way. Even if their financial situation improves, they won't care to repay the loan. Like the example of Mr. Zhang, the bank will discuss with the borrower and offer 1/4 of the monthly payment. The bank will also give him a 2-year extension. After 2 years, everything can be negotiated again in the hopes that the homeowner will be able to get out of the predicament and ultimately pay off the arrears. Secondly, properties are becoming less valuable nowadays. If banks don't take over properties in default, the pressure on their inventories can be relieved. In recent years, the number of foreclosed properties in China has increased dramatically, but the number of foreclosed properties sold has dropped so much, it seems no one is interested in taking them over. In 2023, the number of foreclosures increased by 213,000 compared to 2022, but the number of sales increased by only 20,200, which is less than 1/10 of the total listed foreclosures. It has created a huge inventory and added pressure on banks. Mortgage loans used to be high-quality assets, but now they have formed a de facto bad debt on the bank's balance sheet. When banks don't accept foreclosures, it actually eases the inventory pressure because if the bank continues to operate, it might just become a real estate broker in the end. Some banks in China have begun to refuse to accept properties in default, and it's not yet known what the ultimate market effect will be. However, many people's homes have already been repossessed and are in the foreclosure process. The mood of homeowners can be described in one word: despair. A Heilongjiang self-media person, Maniac Records, posted a video on March 20th saying that his home had been foreclosed on due to a defaulted mortgage. On the same day, someone came to look at his home.
刚刚银行通知我一个消息。
I am heartbroken. I feel so bad and don't know how to continue my life. The adult world can collapse in a matter of seconds. I am so heavy-hearted. I bought my home for 1.9 million, and it was the first time I bought a home in my life, hollowing out 6 wallets for it. Now the market price has dropped to 1.1 million. After 3 years of the epidemic, our business has lost hundreds of thousands of yuan. These 3 years were tough. Now it's even tougher. On one side is the mortgage, on the other side is the family life. My wife and I are both unemployed now, and we don't have the money to pay back the mortgage. It has been defaulted for the 7th month. It was seized by the bank, and the court proceeded with the auction. We are on a path of no return. The foreclosure price was much lower than the market price, usually 70 to 80% of the market price, and my home finally sold for 900,000. I still owed the bank 400,000 for the home, and the initial down payment of 500,000 was gone. All of this and other expenses amounted to a loss of more than 1.1 million. What's worse, I've been put on a credit blacklist, so forget about buying a car or a home in the future. I've also been restricted from high spending, and I can't take the high-speed train or the airplane. It may also impact the future of my 2 children. It's my biggest worry. The future seems very difficult to move on.